rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. It's Monday, the start of a fresh week. Oh, my goodness. Well, it looks like some people are watching the Trump rally on the television, and they've got me on the phone. That probably actually helps because, you know, smaller screens make it so that I look better. Whatever. Anyway, all right, let's go ahead and get things started. With tonight being led off, our Pledge of Allegiance being led off, of course, by Coco, Cam, and Sean. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with Sean, Sean is normally non-verbally autistic, but he tends to come out of his shell, especially when it comes to the Pledge of Allegiance. And so you will hear him start, you will hear him drop into his, because he gets excited, his nonverbal scenario, and then he'll come back at the very end. So no worries, that's just the way it works, because that's the kind of guy Sean is. All right, folks, please stand, remove your hats, and put your hand over your heart. And let's follow along with Coco, Cam, and Sean in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I appreciate Coco, Cam, and Sean for submitting that wonderful rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would like to get your rendition played here on the program, all you have to do is record yourself doing the Pledge of Allegiance in your style, and then, of course, emailing that audio file off to me at fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans at AmericanPerspective.online. And, yeah, I will get you into the rotation as soon as possible from that. All right, tonight's broadcast is being brought to you by TGRN Blues. That's TGRN, True Grit Roots Network. You can find us on the web at tgrn.net. TGRN.net is where you can listen through your browser or download our app. Or if you already have the application of any of the following three, Live 365, Odyssey, AUDACY, or the iHeartRadio app, you can find us in their catalog of digital radio stations. TGRN Blues brings you 24/7, 365 blues music and fantastic on-air personalities that bring you a unique perspective of the blues because they've been in it for quite some time. I'm telling you, these folks are just fantastic. Let me tell you really quick about a couple of our daily programming that we have. Starting off in the morning at 6 a.m., Central Time is Morning Blues Cafe. This is a Monday through Friday thing, and it is exclusively at TGRN. It's a soothing blend of blues to start your mornings. And then that, of course, again, as I said, airs Monday through Friday, starting at 6 a.m. Central Time. And then at noon Central Time, we have the Blue Plate Special. 1 hour focused on R&B cuts and blues meats and other dishes coming straight from the TGRN kitchen. It's hosted each day by a different on-air personality Monday through Friday. So if they have a show later on that day, they will host the Blue Plate Special. That, of course, is an hour-long show, starts at noon on Central Time, and is a daily show as well, Monday through Friday. I invite you to come and check us out if you haven't already. Go and check out these two shows, plus all of our on-air personalities, by going to tgrn.net or any one of the apps, the applications on your mobile device. And check us out, please. TGRN Blues, that's TGRN True Grit Roots Network, based out of Austin, Texas. All right. It is a Monday evening. I hope everybody had a great Monday. I know my Monday went pretty well, for the most part. So, I don't know if you guys recall, but I was kind of in a little bit of a nostalgic mood today. And so I went ahead and searched up the Rush Limbaugh show webpage. And they have some of his shows in their entirety. Some of them are in video format, some of them are in audio format, and occasionally I like to go there and just get, reacquaint myself with the late great Rush Limbaugh, because as you know, I not that I necessarily want to replace him, but he is definitely, whenever you're doing something like this, you always try to emulate is probably not the best terminology that I could use with this. But basically, it's channeling, copying, learning from, just all of those things rolled into one. To be able to perfect your craft. And whenever you perfect your craft, when you have a craftsman or a craftsperson, you want to try and learn from them as much as possible. And unfortunately, because Rush has gone into the next evolution of life, sadly for us, I have, I'm starting to kind of get back into and like reading and reading about him. I've, of course, got his book that came out that was regarding his life, and now I'm going back and taking a look at like the ditto cams and things like that, because again, whenever you have the opportunity to study somebody from that, who is one of the greats in something that you want to do, that's how you learn. And then of course you can put your own spin on things and change things up and get things going in that respect. And so, if you are missing Rush, it's a good idea to just go and check it out. You can just type in your browser search bar Rush Limbaugh, and it should take you to the Rush Limbaugh show. At least one of them, one of the search results can take you to the Rush Limbaugh show, and you can get a dose of Rush if you need it. And I think we all kind of need it in this particular time period. I don't know if you recall, but this was several episodes ago. I tend to get lost sometimes with how many episodes that I'm putting out now. Well, practically one per day. Which, it's an interesting schedule, because yesterday being off, it's kind of like, I get a bit of a relaxing, day for that. But no, don't worry. I'm not trying to say I'm going to change my schedule or anything, because I'm not. This is just saying that, 6 days a week, it tends to become a pattern. It tends to become a habit. And when it's not there anymore, you kind of feel it. Like as many hosts have said, whenever they go on vacation or something along those lines, they tend to miss the programming that they would normally be doing. And I am subject to that exact same thing on several occasions. And so, anyway, to get back to what I was talking about, several episodes ago, I had discussed a couple of ladies that had that were going to a baseball game, the New York Mets baseball game, and they had MAGA gear on, and they were told by Mets management at the park that they had to remove their hats and their other gear, and that caused them to have to walk all the way back out to their car and drop that stuff back in their car and then go back to the stadium and get back into the game. And one of the things that I had mentioned about that was, that the individuals felt that they were being targeted because after they had gotten into the game itself, there were other people that they were with that had MAGA gear on. It just happened that it was just them that were being stopped. They were by themselves, not away from the rest of the group, and they were targeted by an employee. Well, come to find out that these individuals are now, or at least one of them is now suing for $2 million over what is being deemed by RVM, where this article is coming from, over a MAGA hat meltdown. So, a New York woman, and this was one of the ladies that we were talking about a while ago. She claims that she was barred from entering Citi Field last month because she was wearing a "Make America Great Again" hat, which of course is a symbol for former President Donald Trump's campaign. And it turns out that she was a black woman. And she supports Trump, and so does it. She's actually active in the Republican community out there. And so now she is suing them for $2 million for what is considered emotional distress. And here's a photo of the lady, reportedly. So there she is. And she is basically taking them to court. Citi Field and the Mets, and for $2 million because she reported that they made her remove her MAGA hat before she could even enter the stadium. It's Aura Moody, who's a 64-year-old social worker from St. Albans in Queens, stated that she was attending the August 14th Mets game against the Oakland A's with members of the Queens Village Republican Club. And the lawsuit itself was filed in Brooklyn federal court on September 6th and accuses the team of racial discrimination, political retaliation, and causing emotional distress. So I thought because I had covered that, I figured you guys would want to go and listen and see that she is now going after them legally. So according to Moody, she and a friend, both wearing MAGA hats, were stopped by a Citi Field staffer after clearing security and were told that the hats were too political to be worn inside the stadium. Despite multiple attempts to invoke her First Amendment rights, Moody said she was forced to remove her hat. This country is supposed to be the beacon of freedom for all, Moody told the New York Post. She further explained that the staffer insisted she take the hat outside of the stadium, not just hide it in her bag, and added that they were concerned about causing delays for the rest of their group, who was already seated inside. In the court documents, Moody alleges that she asked to speak to a supervisor after feeling racially targeted as a black woman wearing a MAGA hat. Well, I will keep you abreast and updated on that if I see anything else that comes out with regards to it. But let's just be honest here. The division in this country and the hate that is running from, especially from the leftists, okay? Especially from the leftists. I hope that she wins, personally, because there's no reason why she couldn't wear that. I mean, it's not like it was, hate of any kind. Like, I mean, who the hell wouldn't agree with "Make America Great Again"? I mean, just don't, I don't get it. But anyway, yeah, so she's suing. She's filed for a lawsuit, so we'll see where that goes. Like I said, I thought you guys might want to know that. All right, so continuing down with things that I have covered before, I've talked to you about the 1993 National Voter Registration Act, colloquially known as the Motor Voter Act. And the Motor Voter Act required that when you go in for a driver's license or any other kind of ID that the Department of Motor Vehicles can produce for you, you get presented with a possibility, or I should say, rather, the ability to go ahead and register to vote at the same time. The challenge here, of course, is that, and this is what the SAVE Act is supposed to address, even though, by the way, that they took that out and went ahead and passed a continuing resolution. Freaking wimpy ass Republicans. But anyway, sorry. Stepped off on a tangent there for a moment, but getting back to this this article here, the Motor Voter Act required that a question be asked at the bottom when you go to register to vote. And essentially all it is you hereby certify, upon penalty of perjury, blase, that you are a citizen of the United States. And the only thing you have to do is check that box. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything in terms of proving it, unless, of course, the state requires it. The federal government doesn't require it, but the states, some states do. Like, for an example, Buddy's own North Carolina. You are supposed to prove that you are a U.S. citizen in order to vote. Or you're supposed to prove that you're a U.S. citizen to vote in Arizona state elections. But if you can't prove it, they'll just give you a federal ballot anyway. But that being said, one of the things that many of us on the conservative side have been saying is that, look, there's no check and balance. There is nothing there to stop these people, realistically, from registering to vote. And all it takes is just it could even be as harmless, technically, as a mistake. It could be as, all the way down to essentially, just misreading or getting into, blind checkbox checking mode. And you could make a mistake, and mistakes do happen. They do happen. However, we have had a rash of people and states who have been validating, which they should, validating that their voter rolls actually have citizens on them and not non-citizens. Because the Democrats are saying, oh, no. This is, not happening because it is illegal already. Well, yeah, border crossings are illegal, but they happen all the time, especially under this administration. Use of illicit drugs is illegal, yet it happens every day, and people die from it every day. So, just because something's illegal doesn't necessarily mean that it's not happening. But unfortunately, that's the Democrat view. Is that, yeah, if it's illegal, it's not happening, which is a whole bunch of crap. But that being said, just the news. Non-citizens added to states' voter rolls through DMV even after admitting a lack of U.S. citizenship. So several of these states, and of course, Just the News has been tracking some of this. Actually, it's not Just the News, but it's another group. It's an election integrity group that has been examining U.S. states' voter rolls for years, are finding many non-citizens who are illegally registered to vote across the country. Here in Pennsylvania, for an example, this is the first one, president of the Public Interest Legal Foundation said on a Just the News special report with the Association of Mature American Citizens to be aired on Tuesday, so that's tomorrow, that non-citizens have been registered to vote in Pennsylvania for decades. That's right, for decades. And according to Adams, who is his name is J. Christian Adams, and he's the president of it, and he's part of on this interview. He said Pennsylvania has been registering non-citizens by admission, and this wasn't some conspiracy on the internet at all, that they admitted that they had been registering non-citizens for 20 years at Penn DOT, and they called it a glitch. Yeah. So, he did try, his organization did apparently try to use the National Voter Registration Act to go in and to try and get the records of how bad the problem was, the records of how they fixed the problem or have allegedly fixed it. And they've been stonewalling us. So Pennsylvania's been stonewalling them for about 7 years. In 2017, Pennsylvania Secretary of State Al Schmidt, a Republican who was Philadelphia City Commissioner at the time, told the Pennsylvania Senate Committee that there were over 100,000 matches of voter registration records to state driver's license numbers with Immigration and Naturalization Service indicators. Yeah, this is just yet another episode of It's Not Happening, but it's good that it is. Now, keep in mind, the matches don't always mean that all of these people were registered to vote. But, as Schmidt argued, we're not talking about an insignificant number here. We're talking about a potentially very significant number of thousands and tens of thousands. Now, Pennsylvania Department of State announced in September of 2017 that records indicated 1,160 non-citizens since 1972 had requested their voter registrations be canceled. So roughly like 0.01% had asked for it to stop. California. PILF filed a federal lawsuit in February against the Alameda County Registrar of Voters for allegedly violating the NVRA by not disclosing records of foreign nationals registering to vote and voting for more than 20 years. Here we are again. Non-citizens have been placed on voter rolls throughout motor vehicle departments by lying about their citizenship, Adams noted. So there's California. Now, apparently, according to Adams, most of the people who get registered to vote, according to the data we've collected, are actual legal residents, like 90 to 95%, of them. And so they get sucked into the system through motor voter, through DMV, and they get registered to vote that way, and it's a big problem. However, sometimes non-citizens still get on the state voter rolls despite explaining their citizenship status. Apparently they have proof of hundreds where they actually marked on the form, hello, not a citizen, and they still get registered to vote. Yeah. Yep. They also have they have obtained online registration forms from New Jersey and San Diego, California, San Diego County, California, that show non-citizens declared their lack of U.S. citizenship, but were still registered to vote. They got a PDF here. You can go and take a look if you want to pull it up through that. Anyway, Arizona, as I've already mentioned, last Tuesday, Arizona's Secretary of State Adrian Fontes said that nearly 100,000 voters were incorrectly registered in the state as providing proof of citizenship, even though they hadn't done so. So I think it's a he, anyway, Fontes explained that there was an error in state systems that labeled the roughly 97,000 voters as providing documented proof of U.S. citizenship. So, again, mistakes get made, and yet they end up on the voter. So without actually being able to track these voting systems, or without being able to track these people who've been registered to vote, how do we even know that they're the ones voting or men not voting? I mean, we don't. They can look in the registrations and see if anybody has voted in the past, but you've got no information as to how they voted, who they voted for, none of that. Or at least they're not supposed to have that listed. So that same error in Arizona has occurred for about 20 years in over 4 different administrations, Fontes noted, and was discovered by a Maricopa County worker who found a registered voter who hadn't provided proof of U.S. citizenship, but was listed as a voter who could cast ballot in both federal and state elections. Remember what I said about Arizona was that you have a federal ballot and a state ballot that you end up getting. And of course, I talked to you about last month, Texas Governor Greg Abbott announcing that more than 1 million ineligible voters had been removed from the voter roll since 2021. Of those, more than 6,500 non-citizens were found, and 1,930 of them have voted. Now, are these numbers, I mean, let's be honest, are these numbers really that big? Well, no. Not necessarily on a individual scale, but when you start adding them together across all 50 states, provided this is occurring everywhere, you can see we could have a significant number of voters that are able to sway an election. Ohio also. In May, Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose directed all 88 counties to begin a removal process for non-citizens in Ohio on Ohio's voter rolls, following a review of his office's Public Integrity Division and Office of Data Analytics and Archives. Holy crap, that's a big freaking title. The review of the analyzed data from the Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles found 137 voter registrations of non-citizens who had twice confirmed their lack of U.S. citizenship. Illinois and elsewhere, also too, Chicago records show that 394 foreign nationals were removed from the city's voter rolls since 2007, with 20 of them recorded as actually casting 85 ballots. Yeah. So, in April of 2023, Maricopa County, Arizona records showed that since 2015, 222 foreign nationals were removed, with 9 of them recorded as casting 12 ballots across 4 federal elections. Again, I mean, are we looking at something? And by the way, too, Oregon had it. Washington, I don't even think will look because they frankly don't care about it. Oregon found, I don't know, less than 500, I think, on theirs. But yeah, again, this is going to be a problem. It's going to continue to be a problem until we can clean this up. And by the way, too, folks, you look at all these mistakes that these folks are, meaning government, okay, they are making. They're making these mistakes. They're making these errors And I'm not necessarily requesting perfection. But let's be honest here. This is something that is clearly important, supremely important for the election integrity of our country, and is tantamount to ensuring that our election integrity is 100% correct. This is focusing on illegals. What about all of the voter rolls? I mean, look at Texas. My gosh, Texas had 1 million illegal voters. Yeah. So, this is just one thing that we should be looking at. This is part of the reason why the SAVE Act, honestly, is so important. And I'm not talking about SAVE, the program of that Biden wants to excuse school loans, student loans. I'm talking about the SAVE Act, which is the voter act that the Republicans tried to tie to the continuing resolution, and the Senate and the Democrats have, along with a few Republicans too, by the way, have voted it off the thing. And now Johnson's like, yeah, and succumbed to pressure, and has gone ahead and is now offering up a different resolution without that added. Probably in the hopes that if we pick it up after Trump gets elected, we might be able to get it to pass. But anyway. All right, let me tell you really quick about this fantastic shirt that I'm wearing. You've seen me wear them. They're patriotic. This one here is the Declaration of Independence along with Mount Rushmore. You can just see the heads right there, Mount Rushmore, right here on this shirt. This shirt comes from theflagshirt.com. That's right, theflagshirt.com. And if you go there, you can order from them. They have all kinds of patriotic styles, men, women, children, accessories. It's fantastic. Also, too, they have a standing deal where if you order $75 more or more of their product, they will give you free shipping. And believe me, they ship out fairly quickly. I mean, I've been getting my orders within, a week and a half, 2 weeks, and I'm on the complete opposite corner of the freaking country from them. They're based out of Florida. Veteran owned, veteran operated. Theflagshirt.com has just some fantastic patriotic styles, and of course they're highlighting their fall wardrobes, hoodies, and pullovers and things like that to usher in the cooler weather that we all get here in the fall. That being said, I know not everybody can order $75 worth of gear, so I have a special offer for you. If you go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, that's flagshirt.americanperspective.online, you will receive a code that you can copy and paste into the promo code box at theflagshirt.com's checkout, and you'll receive $5 off your order. Go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online to get a promo code to enter in the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com and get $5 off your order. Go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. Get it just in time for the election. I'm telling you, we're about 47 days, I think, out from the election. Speaking of the election, I don't know if anybody's heard, but here locally anyway, it's kind of a big news, and usually does. Whenever you have a large, major industrial presence within a certain area of a state or county or city, when they go on strike, you usually hear about it. And the resulting economy surrounding them tends to take a hit, believe it or not. It can be a a big impact, a minor impact, a medium impact, depending upon the length and seriousness of the strike that goes on. Well, usually when you have places, for an example, Boeing right now is striking. I think it's the machinists in this particular avenue that are striking. And so here, not too far away from me, we have a very large Boeing plant. What used to be the headquarters of Boeing was here, but it's still a very large plant just south of me. And whenever they go on strike, everything surrounding them, especially some of the businesses that are suppliers for them, tend to get impacted. And normally that's not really that big of a deal for those of us who may not be a part of the aeronautical industry. But when you have a union such as the longshoremen, that is potentially impacting across the United States, no matter what industry you might be in. Check out this article in the Daily Wire. There's a potential dock worker strike, which is the longshoremen's union, that could upend the economy and potentially the election. For those of you who can remember things past about 4 years ago, you'll seem to recall that when COVID hit and things were slowed down and you had the ships and all of that other, the transportation of product throughout the world that was completely impacted, supply chain issues were impacted worldwide. You remember that there were a lot of products that went off the shelf, got sold out, and it took forever for them to get restocked. Well, here's one of the realities of life, folks. Sorry, Bam, I'll look and see if I can do it. I don't know if they have a zipper hoodie. But I might be able to work something out for something else, but I'll look for it. Anyway, so as far as like the longshoremen are concerned, what a lot of people don't understand is that a vast majority of our products that come from other places come by sea. And so this looming dock worker strike, which is set to set to potentially occur on the 1st of October. So this is the International Longshoremen's Association, reading from the Daily Wire piece, which represents about 85,000 dock workers nationwide, is threatening to strike on October 1st if the union cannot reach an agreement with port ownership. Negotiations broke down in June. This is how long this has been kind of waiting. Negotiations broke down in June between the union and the United States Maritime Alliance, which is who represents the port management. The two sides are in a stalemate over both wages and the automation of port operations. Now, the strike itself could shut down 5 of North America's 10 busiest ports. Now, keep in mind, just because you happen to be in the list of 10 busiest doesn't necessarily mean that the amount of product that comes through your port is less or more than some of the others. For an example, the Los Angeles Long Beach, California port covers roughly 40%. That's 40% of all incoming imports into this country. That just gives you an idea of the size of what just one singular port. That's Los Angeles Long Beach. And I believe, I may be wrong, but I believe that they might be one of the ones on this list. Now, a strike also would take out close to 36 other ports in total, including the 10 busiest along the East and Gulf coasts as well, and cause massive supply chain issues, which, depending upon how long the strike lasts, could actually impact us considerably longer than just Election Day. And also, as Nana of JJS pointed out, get your Christmas shopping done soon, exactly because it could impact the holiday season. What a lot of people don't understand is one day of striking could potentially impact a week's worth of offloading, because when you don't offload the ships, you can't get new ships in, and you end up backing up the entire chain throughout the course of the time of the strike. And they point this out in the article too, in the fact that if the supply chain is upended like this, causing scarcities, we are also likely to see another nasty bout of inflation, just as families are trying to recover from the nearly 20% spike in prices since before the pandemic. Now, the Biden administration has the power to stop strikes that could threaten national security or severely impact the economy. But the White House has already said that they are not going to intervene in a dock worker strike. Now, Buddy had pointed out that Reagan fired a whole load of air traffic controllers when the air traffic controllers strike back in the 80s was affecting air travel. That was a national security and severely impacted the economy. And so Reagan went in and busted that particular union. And in this particular case, we've got Biden and Harris. Now, keep in mind, as Buddy points out also too, not all dock workers are union. This isn't going to necessarily affect everybody. However, even though it doesn't affect everybody, if it affects a significant percentage, and it doesn't even have to be like over 50%, but if it affects a significant percentage, like even up to 1/3, this could impact a lot of other things that are going along. Now, the global economic turmoil wrought by a strike of this size cannot be overstated. Now, the ports that would be affected move nearly half of all U.S. imports. So, yeah, that means L.A., Long Beach. And billions of dollars in trade each month. The ripple effects on supply chains in Europe, Asia, and Latin America would also be significant. And the reason being, what a lot of people don't seem to understand with this is that these containers and the ships that they go on, there is a limited number of them. This is part of the reason of what happened during COVID, and I kind of went into this in a expose not too long ago, a couple of years ago, with regards to this whole thing. These shipping containers don't sit around. It's not like they go and they get stacked up on a dock empty and don't go anywhere. They actually rotate quite often back and forth across the sea. And so what ends up happening here is if you get a bottleneck stuck at one end of the process, you end up with a large problem because those containers that are now sitting on ships, fully loaded, waiting to be unloaded, because that's what the dock workers do, the longshoremen do, okay, is they unload and reload the ships. If it is impacting the process of getting those containers back into the rotation, then it slows down everything else, because you can't get those containers back across the ocean to go and pick up more product and so on and so forth. So, yeah, we've got some problems here. And none of this, by the way, would likely be good for the Democrats, because, again, this would be something that Biden and Kamala Harris would have to deal with. They would have to deal with this. Not only that, but it would also give Donald Trump a little bit more leverage when it came to speaking about how he is the art of the deal guy. This does not look good, folks. This really doesn't. I mean, as much as As much as I would love to see Kamala Harris go down in flames in November, what I don't want to see is I don't want to see something like this, which is impacting Americans, necessarily be the cause of it. She should go down in flames in November because of her policies, of her rhetoric, her inability to do the job. And unfortunately, if it does take something like this, we might have a bit of a challenge here for this to go along with all of this. So even just the threat of a strike, by the way, causing continued economic uncertainty at a time when the economy is not exactly Democrats' strongest point, the piece continues. This could affect the elections, even if it doesn't affect supply chains. So, yeah, we could. This could make a difference and make an impact. So some people have speculated that the president being unwilling to go out of his way to help Harris is the reason why Biden is saying he won't intervene. I personally think it's because he's sleeping and doesn't want to get woken up. Anyway. So they're also wondering if Biden might be courting the dock worker unions at a time when the union vote is not coming easily for Democrats. I discussed that on Saturday with regards to all of the union rank and file being a part of it. So Joe Biden coming in, or even Kamala Harris, if Joe is unavailable or unable to do something, Kamala Harris coming in, that's not going to do well for her reelection chances after all of these unions have all come out with polls, internal polling, that is demonstrating that the rank and file are backing Trump. So, yeah, this is not going to look good. And of course, October 1st is not that far away here, people. We're really not far away. I think it's next week. Yeah. So the stoppage is about a week away, but the effects could go into place. Now, that, like I said, 2024 is shaping up to be the weirdest and most unforecastable, I don't even know if that's a word, unforecastable elections of at least my lifetime. Well, we all know that Kamala Harris has run touting her record as being a hard-as-nails prosecutor. And she has talked about not wanting to take your guns, that she's a gun owner. She doesn't, she's not going to do that, so on and so forth, that she touts how she knows, because Trump is a quote unquote convicted felon, that she knows how to handle convicted felons, etc., etc., etc. Well, Kamala Harris is actually light on crime. She's not the same as what she says she is. This isn't any surprise to anybody who is actually paying attention and can think for themselves. But this just proves it yet again. Here in Town Hall, rapists set to walk free thanks to Kamala Harris's reform law. So, gentleman who is a convicted serial rapist, Andrew Luster is his name. He's set to walk free thanks to Vice President Kamala Harris's woke Proposition 57 in California, which reduces several violent felonies to misdemeanors. In 2016, the then California Attorney General Harris wrote and signed Proposition 57, which resulted in violent criminals walking out of prison only serving half of their sentences. Thanks to Harris, Luster, who was convicted of 86 counts of drugging and raping unconscious women in 2003, will soon be allowed to walk among American citizens. At the time, The 60-year-old felon had infamously fled to Mexico during his rape trial, only to be tracked down by none other than Dog the Bounty Hunter, and was initially sentenced to 124 years in prison. However, in 2013, it was changed to 50 years on appeal. After serving only half his sentence, he will soon walk free from Valley State Prison in California. Folks, look, I know my Whiskey Warrior P1s. I know the conservatives who are out there watching this program. You guys all know this. You get this. You understand all of this. This isn't of any consequence or real big surprise to any of you. However, to those people who are still sitting on the fence, to those people who are still thinking about potentially voting for Kamala Harris, this right here is exactly why you should not. Of all of her policies, of all of her, about all of her things that she is talked about and flip-flopped on and turned around and gone back on her word and said she still holds her values, yet she, has changed her mind on just about every single stance that she took in 2019. This right here, folks, should scare the bejesus out of any woman who is out there right now. If you're a leftist lunatic woman, this is Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris wants these criminals walking the streets. She wants the illegal aliens that are coming here and beating and raping women and doing all of the. She wants this. She doesn't care about you. She doesn't care about criminals. She doesn't care about locking these animals up and throwing away the key. She is not the tough on crime prosecutor. I told you of that story that the gentleman who, as a child, was being molested by a priest or a pastor or some religious figure, and he was all set with the AG at the time, was all set and ready to file the paperwork. Kamala Harris came in and totally ignored the victim, even though the case was already built and ready to go, ready to be filed. And she walked away from it. Folks, this is who Kamala Harris is. She doesn't care about you. She doesn't care about the Constitution. She doesn't care about the law. What she cares about is her own political future, her own political career. And we need to end it in 2024 in November. The only way to do that is to make sure that you vote for Trump Vance in November to restore and save the Republic. Speaking of the law and crime, I saw again, that the media keeps harping on this whole thing where FBI crime stats, FBI crime stats, FBI crime stats. FBI crime stats show that violent crime, et cetera, is actually down. Well, no, I'm going to go on record, just like I have on my socials and everywhere else. Crime is not down. Reporting to the FBI is down. That's what's down, folks. It's not crime. And how do we know this? Well, pretty simple. There are other metrics other than FBI crime reporting statistics that can demonstrate this. One of them I talked to you about not too long ago, which was the National Crime Victimization Survey. And they just released data. We talked about this on the program. They just released data, more recent data. Well, that data has been compiled and put into a nice, beautiful, handy chart by the Crime Prevention Research Center. You can go there, crimeresearch.org, and you can find this. What I'm about to show you is astonishing at the very least. Here's the chart. The change in total violent crime rate per 1,000 people, and they broke it out into rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. Now, this is based off of national crime victimization data from 2016 all the way to 2023. Folks, if you look at this chart, the orange is under the Donald Trump years from 2016 to 2020. Just to give you an idea, total violent crime, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault altogether was down 15% under the Trump years. Under the Biden-Harris administrations, from 2020 to 2023, the total violent crime, again, aggregating rape, robbery, and aggravated assault altogether, is up 55%. 55% per 1,000 people. Rape by itself is up 42%. Robbery by itself is up 63%. And aggravated assault is also up 55%. Now, if you look at a comparison of Biden-Harris versus the 2019 numbers, because admittedly, in 2019 to 2020, you had the whole COVID thing, you're looking at numbers overall of 19% across the board. And if you look at the Biden-Harris versus the 5-year average before COVID, you're also looking at a 19% increase of just Biden-Harris over the average of the 5 years prior to COVID, which would be the end of the Obama era and the majority of the Trump era. Folks, crime itself is not down. Reporting of crime is down. Crime is up, but nobody wants to report it. And the FBI changed their reporting statistics and are now admittedly only getting about 60 to 70% of the total number of law enforcement agencies reporting to them as to what they used to have when it was mandatory and under the old system. People, this is what we have to look forward to. This is what we have to look forward to under a Biden-Harris administration in 2024. This is what we have to look forward to if you decide to throw away America and her values, principles, and go toward the Marxist, leftist, Democrat policies and ideology, which is what the Biden-Harris administration has implemented and the Harris-Walz administration will continue to implement. These are just a few items that would make it so that you again, I only say this, only morons vote Democrat, because as of right now, anyone with any kind of intelligence in their head and smart brain cells, 2 brain cells to rub together, can look at these things, look at these statistics, look at these figures, look at everything that I'm talking about, that I've talked about over the course of the last hour for the most part, and been like, no way am I voting Democrat. All right, folks. That's about it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It's free. And once you are there, make sure you sign in and then go and search up the American Perspective channel. And once you are there at the channel, hit that green follow button so you can be notified every single time I go live. I will be live again tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Don't forget to hit those thumbs up and like buttons on all of my stations as you leave. I do appreciate that because that, of course, raises my visibility across all of the platforms. We will see you tomorrow night. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.